Alright guys, so this is the final video here. It's over these inverse equations, and I'm gonna go over two with y'all because there's something special about these that I don't think you guys have just seen, or you've seen it, but it's kind of a little bit odd, so I want to just point it out to y'all. So on these problems here, first thing I want to do is put them in the format. So with A, B, C, and D. So this one is, excuse me, my number here is -4, so -4 is my A. I guess I should have left that here. F of, remember, this is 1/2. This is my B value. But you want to take it out of the parentheses. So here, X, and then what I'm going to do is divide the C value by the B value, okay? Because it is inside the parentheses. I need to take it out, okay? So -3 divided by 1/2 is equal to -3 times 2/1, which is -6. So over here goes a -6. That's my C value. And this is out of order here, and so, I mean, they're doing it on purpose, but here, this would be my value for D, which is pi/2. Okay, so, to start here, I'm dealing with arc sine, and remember, sine to the -1 is the same as arc sine, okay? So my domain, this one's you gotta remember, guys, is starting is -1 and 1, okay? So, first thing I want to do here is multiply by 1/b. So here, if my b value is 1/2, 1 divided by 1/2 is going to equal 2. Okay, so I'll write that over here to the side just so we have a little bit of reference here. 1 divided by b is 1 divided by 1/2, which would look like this. Okay, so it's 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2 each number. So 2 times -1 is -2, and 2 times 1 is +2. Okay. So next thing I want to do, since it says a minus here, guys, I want to add. So this one is just a little bit weird. I'm going to add 6 here. So -2 plus 6 is +4. 2 plus 6 is 8. So my domain for this one is equal to 4 and 8. Okay. Now, moving on, I'm going to do the same for the ranges. So the range here for arc sine is -pi/2 to pi/2. Okay, so first thing here, multiply by a. So when I multiply by a here, it's -4, so -pi/2 times a -4 is equal to -4 pi/2. Okay, and I'm going to leave it like this for right now. And positive pi/2 times -4 is equal to +4 pi/2. Excuse me, -4 pi. Ooh, I made a mistake here. I'm sorry. The negatives cancel here. Okay, so this is now the bigger value, and this one is the smaller. So what I did here is I reflect. Okay, I'm switching them. So this is going to be important when I start graphing. So here, I'm going to put the small value, so the negative value is the small one. Okay, and this is really what I wanted to point out because we really didn't talk too much about negative numbers and what they do. And then here, this is straightforward. I'm going to add d's, which is pi/2. So -4 pi/2 plus pi/2 is equal to -3 pi/2. And positive 4 pi/2 plus a pi/2 is equal to, should have wrote that, 5 pi/2. so I have my domain, I have my range. Okay, so when I graph this thing, start with the domain, so my smallest value is 4. So I'll go through here. I'm going to call this 4. My biggest value is 8. So I'll call this 8. Oops. My smallest y value is negative 3 pi over 2. And my biggest one is 5 pi over 2. Okay, so I'm dealing with sine negative 1, guys. Okay, so sine negative 1. Okay, I know I don't have these here. Let me just draw them very quickly. So sine negative 1, or arcsine, okay, looks something like this. Okay, cosine negative 1 looks like this, and tangent negative 1, oops, that should be more in the middle. It looks like this. And that one looks horrible, but it goes through the middle. Okay, so since I'm dealing with sine negative 1, I start in this corner. Okay, usually I start over here in this corner. Okay, now what's important about this is I do have a reflection. We talked about that. We have a reflection because of this negative a. Okay, so when you have a reflection, guys, that means that I now start in the other corner. So where I would think that my sine graph looks like this, because I'm reflecting, it looks like this. Okay, now we'll go through this one a little bit faster because there's just something here I need to see. So I'm dealing with arctan on this one, so tan negative 1. Okay, so I'm going to put in the format. Again, I want you to see this. My a value is 4 over pi. My b value is outside the parentheses already, so I don't have to do anything to this inside part. Okay, leave it alone because it's already outside the parentheses. And then plus 3. So domain for infinity is negative infinity to infinity. Okay, so this one's not going to change. This stays the same. Okay, the only thing that will change, and we'll get to it right now, is that point that went through the middle. Okay, so range is negative pi over 2, 2 pi over 2. So first thing, multiply by a. So negative pi over 2 times a, which is 4 over pi. So here the pi's cancel, it's negative 4 over 2, which, we can simplify that. Negative 4 over 2 is just negative 2. And positive pi over 2 times 4 over pi. Again, pi's cancel. 4 over 2 is equal to positive 2. Okay. And now you add value for d. So when I add 3, negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. 2 plus 3 is positive 5. Okay, so that's my new range. Domains, guys, I don't have to worry about. The smallest y value I have is positive 1. The biggest y value I have is positive 5. So remember, the tangent one looks something like this. Okay, but since I do have a b and c value, what is going to change is my this point right here. Usually it goes through the 0. But since I do have a b value here, I see my c value, this means I move 3 to the, to the right. I'm sorry. So negative sign means it moves to the right. So usually I would have gone through here, like touching the y-axis, but now I'm moving 3 to the right, so this moves 1, 2, 3 to the right. So my graph would look like this. Okay. So if you have questions on these guys, please let me know. even if you don't get everything right, you should be able to start like the domains and ranges. So practice on these, and again, good luck. Please study hard.